Morning, this is Joe, and today we're in Richmond and we're doing the CobbledClimbs course, which is a course I've never done before, so we're just coming out of the pens now, so we'll see how this works. This is just the hilly part of Richmond, so the Swift Racing League will do 5 laps, about a little over 45 kilometers, 46 kilometers. The secondary distance is 3 laps. You can see we've got about 2/10 of a mile before we hit the banner. And the biggest thing you'll see with this route is that you won't have that long rest, if you want to call it that, flat section after all the climbs. So I'll probably record a little over a lap to get a clue of how that feels. We've got a flat section, but you can see that we'll have a left-hand turn coming up straight away. So before the first kilometer's even out, I'm coming across and we'll then be heading left to go back down the hill. If you figure the first 4 or 5 minutes are going to be megawatts, we'll see how quickly things go downhill. And I do mean downhill, because if the pack is flying and you get off just a little bit, if we start going downhill, it's curtains. You're done. Here we are, not even 1.5 kilometers in, and we're already going down the hill. So it will be vitally important to be in a good spot, especially if you're a lighter rider, which this course would generally favor. If you're a lighter rider and you're not in the pack, you're not going to get there. At least not for a while. Because you can see we're already going down the hill. There'll be a slight easing, flattening right here for just a few yards. And back down we go. So that's one of the first things you notice about this course is that off the start you really need to get in with a group, because downhill with it you're not going to catch up unless you've got about 3 anvils in your pocket, and I don't think the anvil is available this week for that race. So we're now heading into what I would call the bottoms. Calm before the storm. Generally flat. One very small double bump rise that I'll call out as we get to it. If you look at the mini map, as you start to see another road come in from the left, that'll be your clue that the bump's coming. Watching the mini map. Little wiggle here. There he is, right there. As you see the road start to come in, and there's that wiggle. Right after the wiggle. This is only going to be a problem if you're on the very edge of it. It's not big enough to make an attack off of, but if you're coming off the back, this could dislodge you. Let me go back. We'll say reasonably flat around the corner. Maybe a little. A little U-turn here, little hairpin. There was a very slight steep downhill, but it was so few yards that it should not have made a difference. These laps are pretty quick, coming in at a little over 9 kilometers per lap. This is the longest flat stretch of the entire ride. Use it to get a drink. Save some watts if you can. We are about over 4 kilometers in by now. Pace should have eased a little because everybody's waiting for the first of the 3 hills, 2 of which will have points. There's a little bump there. Haven't gotten to the sprint line yet, but the timing happens. It's important because there's also segment bonuses regardless of placing in the pack. So if you're a climber and you get shuffled off the back, you still have a chance to pick up some team points. Okay, we hit the line, so you'd want to crank her up a little bit for that. I didn't. But then I'm not trying for a fast time today. Just trying to get up this. I'm going to try it 5 times. See if I can survive it. As you can see, we're already getting in 7-8%. Release just briefly at the hairpin, but then get real steep. Here's the easing. Use it to get the RPMs back up if I can. From here, it's just grunt. Very slight easing there. Get the RPMs back up if you can. deceptive. You can see the banner, but somebody just keeps moving it away. That's KOM number 1, Libby Hill. Next up to 23rd Street. Flat part up top. But the group don't ease off too much. And it actually goes uphill here around this corner. Feather, that van hit a little late. Oop, that didn't go. That's interesting. Now, let's get rid of it. We're on the 3rd Street. Again, this is just a grunter. The real cool part is you do it 4 more times. That will have an effect on what riders are doing. You may find it eases up after this because, at least till the last lap, because the next climb, there's no points for first across the line or fast through segment. So maybe a place where it eases up. I'll use this, find somebody to draft a minute. Longish downhill here. Flattens out. Still carry pretty good momentum. So we go through this corner. Might even go through this next one with 0 or negative gradient. Yep. You see you have a long downhill here. You could get it back together. For Governor Street. The Governor Street climb starts just as those roads come together. You can look at your mini map and see that it starts to go up, hesitates a little. Now we're going back up. To the first part of this road before the road will bear off to the right and get serious. Hard to know exactly what any pack will do, but depending on how the riders around are feeling, if they're feeling good, they might want to try to get rid of some dead weight, which means they'll push a little here. If they're all hurting, maybe a little easier. I still suspect this will be a pretty hard climb. The key thing will be that after this climb, there won't be a lot before we head back down, around, and up again. So your recovery as far as the hill will be decreased. Although, since there's no flat sprints, you might find you'll not have that issue breaking up the pack. Just coming to the top of the hill, falls flat to the finish. You can see the edges of the pens on the mini map. Gives you a clue where you're at. Just see the banner, and we started right at the pens. You can see it's right at 9.2 kilometers, so a few tenths of a kilometer. Right, we'll go again. So I'll go ahead and take one more lap of this, just so you get an idea of what it looks like. After a lap, and they will at least go a few corners. So we're just going through the banner at 9.5. We're a few tenths of a kilometer before we go left and down the hill. So we have a little flat section here, relatively flat. Actually downhill is a little. And here comes our left turn. Just at 10. So it looks like from the banner the next downhill, a little less than a kilometer of flat, maybe a kilometer. Maybe it was a little over a kilometer the last time that we noted that the downhill started, where you had to be in a group or lose it. From the banner at 0.5 is our kilometer mark. 0.5, you can see we've just barely hit that. We're just starting to get into the downhill. So, really short bit there. And of course you've got a downhill that started at about 10.5. suspect it's about a little less than a kilometer, maybe a kilometer. We'll see how far it is. I'm surprised maybe it'll be a little longer than I thought. This is where the little flat part is, right here. Before we finish the downhill. So it'll be, looks like it might be also a little longer than a kilometer, maybe. Maybe not. And there's the kilometer mark, so it's a little, just a shade more downhill. So from the banner, the total amount of relative downhill maybe 3-4 kilometer. This is the long stretch of recovery, and how much recovery depends on what the riders around you are doing. Remember that the wiggle, as you come out of the wiggle, the road will pitch up briefly for a few very short uphills. Not a problem unless you're in a bad position or get caught with your RPMs down. Bring the RPMs up just a little bit to weather those. There's the first. Followed by the second right here. Second isn't quite as steep. First one gets up to 8%, second up to 5%. From here, the corner, and beyond a little flat, then there'll be a bump before we actually get to the sprint line for the KOM. Time to take a drink. Pretty quickly, it'll be upon us again. From there, it's just up, up, up. I suspect the group may get pretty cut up, at least for pieces of the race, because of the hills. Parts of it may come back together on the long downhill, depending on how many people are behind. It's a big group. They'll make good time. If it's only ones and twos, they won't. But you only hope of catching up is to get with a group, so it sometimes is worth easing a few seconds. Get a group with you, you make much better time, depending on how much you have to ease and how much the other people actually help you. that's always a bit of a crapshoot. If you've got teammates behind, you can probably count on them. Other people, never can tell. We're ready to come into the second. Here's where we're going to, as we make that little turn, ramp our speed up. We're trying to get a better time on the climb. So tantalizing. You see the arch up there in the mini map, you just can't get there. And we'll try not shifting, spinning it up on this easing. See if that helps. Much better strategy. Same there. Real easings. Spin it back up. That was faster. Whew. Yeah. Should get my watts up better. It's flat. Remember, around the corner, we'll go up about 4% for just an instant. Keep your revs high. That little teeny bump. Now try to get some momentum while killing yourself into the downhill. There we go. Downhill through the S. Flattens out. Around this next corner, really goes up. Ready to shift. Here it comes. The actual sprint line is before the corner. So get cranked up before the corner. We'll burn this. Okay, a little better. And going downhill toward Governor Street. Nice downhill. Take a deep breath. We're doing all that climbing, we're only doing 10 miles. We've done less than 20K at 2 laps. We have a nice recovery here, but it's relatively flat, so you still have to keep the watts running. And as we see the other route coming in from the left on the mini map, that'll signal that the Governor Street climb is about ready to commence. That's a little bite before the corner, bites harder after the corner. See the corner coming in my mini map. One can only imagine Sagan flying up this in the world. Okay, there we go. Right at the corner is your steepest pitch. So if you've got a feather to use, right at the corner is the best place. See, it hasn't really slacked off till about now. It goes up again, yep, for the corner. Just a little wiggle before we go left. It's a little steep at the corner, so if you didn't use your feather at the corner, there's another place you could use it. Might even be a better spot, especially on the last lap. Depends what you need to stay with some people. Either spot would be advantageous. Now we're coming toward the finish. Just coming past the pens. 18.4, 18.5. So right about at 7.2 kilometers a lap, maybe 7.25, almost to the line. If it were the last lap, you'd be way in the pain cave. Not the last lap. Judge by what the people around you are doing, and if you have a chance to relax for a sec, do it. There we go. There's 2 laps of the Richmond CobbledClimbs course. Gives you a little bit of a flavor for what it's like. Me too. So, thanks for watching. and enjoy the rest of your day.